Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. We're coming to you from the state capitol here at the legislature on the second floor, where all the lobbyists are hanging out in the hallways. On the program today, the topic is education. From the state school board, we have John Gwaltney and Terry Hickman from the Teachers Association, plus our Power Pundit panel today, Marlene, Lockard, Anjeanette, Damon, and Kirsten, Searer. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Coverage of Nevada Newsmakers from the state legislature in Carson City is brought to you by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
You bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is a special edition of Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're going to be dealing with education today, and John Gwaltney is here. He's the president of the state school board. Let's start out with this $100 million that the Senate has now formed a new committee to help pass out.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for being here. I'm always delighted to work with you. It's been fun in the past.
This is not going to make it easier for you. Don't even try this.
The $100 million school improvement fund has been a high priority of the state board. They're very excited about it, and a compliment to the governor and the legislature for considering this. However, there is some concern in the state board on how the administration of that is to be carried out. I think there's a strong faith among my colleagues on the board that a stronger coordinated base needed to be put in place, which we could gather data and begin to provide scientific tests of what was working and what was not working effectively. The $100 million structure will create another commission. Currently, the last count I had, I think there are now 11 commissions that have subdivided the authorities related to public education. There's a technology commission, a standards commission, a licensing commission, and so on.
This begs the question, who's in charge?
Well, you know, I think at this particular point in discussing with some of the legislators, and also with members not too distant from the governor himself, that the issue of who's in charge of public education in this state is up for grabs. grabs. It's certainly up for grabs. There are changing opinions. If you really look at who's in charge of public education, it's the legislature. They have been since '97. They're in charge of that issue. Has that improved the quality of education in the state? Well, I think many of the legislators think so. I think probably some of the local folks have doubts about that. I'm not sure that the record's really in on that question.
If you had your druthers, who would be in charge?
I think probably the state board was appropriate, even though I would agree with many of the legislators that there is a history of conflict between members of the state board and the legislature, which led to a very unfortunate series of events. I ran, and I think most of my colleagues ran a few years ago with the idea of trying to patch up that conflict and create a kind of harmony that would allow the state board to assume more of those roles in the future. The problem is, as we've subdivided, sliced up the responsibility for public education, we have created entities with a vested interest in surviving. Those vested interests are often accountable to no one but the legislature, so there is no real linkage between the Standards Commission, other than the superintendent himself, who staffs that, the Technology Commission, and so on. So what we would talk about as a comprehensive plan to improve public education has, in my opinion, been missing, and I think that's probably true in a number of my colleagues' feelings on this.
Okay, so how do we get there?
Well, I think probably it's very difficult at this point. I think our resolution recently to the committee on this $100 million was asking that no additional commissions be created because further distribution of thought processes was not going to be beneficial. We were very strongly in favor of the $100 million. The school improvement's a great idea, and so on down the line. Let's see if we can figure out how to gather it up instead of dissipate it. How will that happen? To tell you the truth, I haven't the slightest.
Well, you know, and we have to bring up, you know, the missing money in the DSA.
DSA.
This was a huge hole.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, how do you reconcile that?
Well,
how did that
first
happen?
of all, how did it happen? You know, to tell you the truth, I don't know. Well, I do. I know parts of it. Let's say that. Realizing that I think we at the state level are responsible some for making sure that those figures get to be as correct as they can be. There's no question that the governor's staff dealing with the issue of the budget office and all that need to be somewhat responsible for that issue too. Part of that may have also evolved out of how we reported the local data that went into making this. Sometimes you make a fairly small mistake at the local level, you compound it at a higher level, and then you super compound it by the time you turn it into written data and so on. That appears to me to be the way that concept unfolded. So is there enough blame to go around? Yeah, probably. Is there somebody
just thank goodness we had a surplus to be able to deal with that. Otherwise, if we hadn't have had,
absolutely,
the school system would have been in deep trouble.
And I'm saying thank you very much to the legislature for restoring it. It does not in any way improve the situation for public education. We're probably funded somewhere, and it depends on whose figures you look at, but the very best figures are probably no better than 44th out of the states. It was interesting that the newspaper said our tax level is at the 22nd level. We're 40-something, if you know, give or take whoever's figures you want to look at, from Ray Bacon's figures to whoever's figures. You know, we're basically saying, where in the world did money go? I mean, we have taxes at the 22nd level, funding at the 40-something level. We basically have created a situation where we're not going to improve at all at the national level, in my opinion, with what's taking place right now. Thank you for doing what's been done. It's desperately needed. We needed substantially more.
Okay, last quick question. We've got about 15 seconds here. Full-day kindergarten, is it going to happen?
Absolute necessity. Will it happen? Unfortunately, I'm hearing rumors it'll boil down to the $100 million school improvement or kindergarten. Which is the most important?
That's the big question.
Very big question.
And that's where we'll leave it. We'll be right back. More on education when we come back on Nevada Newsmakers.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by Terry Hickman, who's the president of the Nevada State Education Association. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning.
Let's start out with talking about the needs of the classroom. You want to see a study done, correct?
Correct. We think it's a question that has never really been answered, and that is, what does it take to give each student in Nevada a quality education? It's in the form of a bill, Assembly Joint Resolution 10, calling for an adequacy study. What does it take for the optimum learning conditions for a child in a classroom? What does it cost? What are the best practices? All those kinds of questions which we think are vital. We keep having questions asked about what does our children need, and we never seem to answer the question. And we think this is one of the best ways for us to come up with what does it take to adequately take care of the needs of a student. Let's not talk about what it costs, let's talk about what the child needs, and then we can worry about the other things. But let's first have a scientific, data-driven study that talks about what do our students need.
You know, it's interesting. I almost get the sense that we need to have a discussion in this state about what kind of state we want to be. As we're growing so dramatically, you know, things have changed from 25, 30 years ago in the way we look at ourselves, and how do we want to take care of our kids in school? How do we want to take care of our university system? How do we want to take care of our seniors? I think we need to have a discussion about all these things. Doesn't that make sense?
Well, we think it's amazing that so many other systems, the prison system, the retirement system, have all had major studies. Education has not. Education is one of the major things that we fund in this state, yet we really don't seem to have a focus. We think we need to have a real strong focus on what works, and then support it and do all we can to make sure that every child in Nevada gets the quality education they deserve. We think that includes small class sizes. We think that includes full-day kindergarten. But we think that all those things need to be answered.
Okay, let me follow you up. I asked John the question about full-day kindergarten. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, we certainly know it's needed. We can tell you that test scores or whatever you want to measure as a result of full-day kindergarten do happen and do raise and are better because those students get more time in the classroom.
What do you respond to people say that full-day kindergarten is basically lunch and a nap?
Well, the State Department, and we also believe, they have a very thick standards book. The teachers, many teachers, for example, in Clark County, they take their lunch break inside the classroom because they don't want the students to get away from their learning. The 5 or 6 hours that the students are there are full of academic things because it takes a lot of effort for literacy and the other skills, because so many students come to our schools, first of all, that English is not their primary language and may have not had some of the background that other students have had. So there's a lot of work to be done in kindergarten, and we think it only makes sense that Nevada step into the 21st century and fund full-day kindergarten.
Okay, if you're a gambling man, what do you put the odds of it happening at?
Well, unfortunately, I think this points out the issue in Nevada. There are so many things we need to be doing, and yet it comes down to what is left. We never ask the question, as in the study, what do our kids need? I think we need to answer the question, what do our kids need, rather than what is left or what can we afford. The priority certainly needs to be full-day kindergarten. It needs to be raises to help teachers and support professionals stay in the profession. When 1 out of 2 is leaving after 5 years, something's wrong.
It's interesting in this session to see the property tax issue resolved very early in the session, which leads me to wonder what would happen if Education First was in place now. Would that be a good thing?
Well, it would be, I think, until the Economic Forum comes out with their forecast, whether Education First is on the books or not. I still don't think the education budget can be closed until after the Economic Forum makes their predictions.
Okay, seeing that the pot of gold is not quite as large as had been anticipated, the governor put 2% raises in over the next 2 years for teachers. It was suggested when we thought there was going to be more money that it may be as much as 5%. Where do you think that's heading?
Well, we certainly compliment the governor for beginning at 2 and 2, but we think it's quite something.
Gee, a negotiator.
Yes, but isn't it amazing when we had a $700 million deficit, teachers got a 2 and 2 and support professionals got a 2 and 2. And now we have a $600 million surplus and we're still being offered a 2 and 2. Something is dramatically wrong with funding in this state.
Do you think there's a middle ground here?
We certainly hope so. We think that the legislature should, we've asked the legislature to do better than that, to focus on the fact that when 1 out of 2 teachers is leaving, we need to fix it. We think that funding education and funding salaries and benefits are extremely important to keeping teachers and professionals here in Nevada.
Do you think we're getting to a point where we're going to be able to cover the remedial education situation where when people are going into the university system, they don't have to take classes, that we have, you know, a smoothness between the high school system and college?
There's talk of that to try and streamline it, and we certainly don't have a problem with that. We think, though, that you've got to have that practice teaching, that experience in the classroom, and we certainly support that.
Okay, Terry Hickman, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers with the Pundits right after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management.
Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by employer links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and social security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
On Nevada Newsmakers with our Power Pundit panel, Marlene Lockard is here with Capital Strategies. We also have Kirsten Searer with the Las Vegas Sun and Anjeanette Damon with the Reno Gazette-Journal. So welcome to all of you. A great panel today. Anjeanette, let's talk about eminent domain and what happened to Senator Kerr's bill.
Well, the Democrats in the Assembly succeeded in removing the provision that would affect Ballardini Ranch. And instead of just removing the retroactive part of it, he just took out open space altogether, said he's not going to go after government's use of eminent domain to protect open space. So that kind of frees up Ballardini Ranch to continue through the court system. But he still thinks that eminent domain needs to be revised in this state, and he's kind of looking at redevelopment agencies and putting more restrictions on when they can use eminent domain. The cities have some problem with it because the way that the amendment is written now, they'd have to prove that 2/3 of their entire redevelopment area was blighted, and that's the entire city of downtown Reno. So they want to try and work it so maybe 2/3 of the actual project is blighted, not the entire redevelopment area.
Marlene, where do you think this is headed?
Well, I think it essentially gutted the bill when he dropped those provisions. I think what is happening with eminent domain, I agree with Senator Kerr, it does need to be corrected, but I disagreed with this bill because I do not believe you should go back retroactively to change something that's already entered the judicial system, and that's what this bill would have done. But I think on the national level, there's eminent domain decisions in the high court that we're waiting, that I think will provide more direction for a more uniform approach, because it is improper, I think, to take holdings for certain purposes that eminent domain wasn't initially imagined for.
And Las Vegas, Kirsten, has dealt with this in a serious way over the last decade or so.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that there's a general feeling in the legislature, at least certainly I'm getting that from Democrats, that there might be some abuses certainly going on nationwide, and they want to make sure that this doesn't start happening more in Nevada. There's a bill by Assemblyman William Horn that's up in the Senate Judiciary Committee today, too. That would also, there's a list of requirements that a property would have to meet, a few of these requirements, in order to be taken by eminent domain. And he wants to make that a more strict process.
You know, when I was a kid, getting up to go to school was a problem for me, and I certainly empathize with Senator Beers' bill. Where's that going at this point to allow the school kids to be able to sleep in a little bit more and not be asleep during the first hour of school?
Well, it's funny because when this bill first came out, the fiscal note was huge. I think it was several $1 million, because districts were saying that they were going to have to completely redo their busing schedule or maybe even buy new buses. But while they were over in the Senate, they worked out some provisions that would, just kind of move the schedules around. There's a possibility they could move all of the school times back an hour, or maybe put elementaries first and then high schools and then middle schools. So he's saying now, this isn't going to be a huge cost to the state, and that it's going to potentially increase test scores because high school students are basically asleep, even if they're technically awake during the first hour of school.
Marlene, aren't they just going to stay up an extra hour later at night?
No, but take a look at what we're doing here. On one hand, we're talking about all-day kindergarten, that it makes more sense to have the student in the classroom and it improves their scores, and now we're pushing back the start time at a high school level. I don't think we're moving with one voice in the education arena. I think we've got lots of different ideas about learning in this legislature.
What are the Northern Nevada legislators thinking on this?
I haven't specifically talked to any Northern Nevada legislators on this, but I don't believe that it got a very friendly audience when it was heard in the Assembly. And I'm not sure it affects Washoe County specifically. I believe the classes actually...
You mean the kids would be forced to not...
Well, they had to amend the bill, and I don't think Washoe County school times start earlier than...
Washoe is later than Clark.
Oh, okay.
Clark is earlier.
All right, let's move on to another subject here. In this session where we're battling about a rebate now, continuing to talk about a possible special session, which has got to be horrifying to all these people who are running for governor.
What about us? It's horrifying for us.
Well, not for me. Listen, this keeps us employed. I don't know about that. But now we're looking at doubling of legislators' pay, which I think is deserved, but this is appropriate at this time, Marlene.
Well, I think that, first of all, a special session is disastrous. I do not believe it will happen. If it happens, it would be a very big deal.
Well, look, there aren't that many huge issues that they're fighting about right now, so I don't think the special session is very likely.
The big issue has been dealt with. They have to have a rebate, and I think there will be a rebate. They get that done, and they could go home tomorrow.
Okay, so but what about the pay issue?
I don't think the timing is correct for a pay issue. I do think that they deserve a pay increase, but I think when we're arguing over a rebate and how much, that they also carve out some money for a raise for themselves sends the wrong signal.
When you say they're doubling their salary, basically when the state was first established, they said legislators could only be paid for 60 days because back in that time, you didn't need more than 60 days. So now we have a 120-day session, and legislators get $130 a day for the first 60 days, and then they get nothing after that except for their travel and per diem. So Senator Bill Raggio actually has been out in front of this issue, really pushing this, saying all we want is to be paid for every day that we work. Now, yeah, technically they're going from $7,800 to more than $15,000 for the session, so they are doubling their pay, but really what they're saying is that they want that pay.
And I totally agree with you.
But there's never a good time for a pay increase for legislators, so they might as well do it this year.
All right, and that's where we're going to leave it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout. Thanks.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
If it's fun, it's here at the Peppermill, the $100,000 video-themed slot celebration, with more winners each week, 100 random winners every Monday and Wednesday, and more cash prizes. $6,000 random drawings every Friday, plus chances to win up to $1,000 in free slot play on Mr. Money's Challenge. You'll have more fun with the Peppermill's video-themed slot celebration, now worth over $100,000.
The slots that rock are at the Peppermill. Where are you winning?
Coming up tomorrow on Nevada Newsmakers from the state capitol, we'll be talking taxes with Carol Villardo and Scott Craigie, and we'd love to hear from you. Send us your emails at newsmakers@kbbc.com and newsmakers@krnb.com. Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers.